Book, you said sometimes in order to succeed, you must be willing to take risks. How did the risks early on as a model prepare you for life as the First Lady?
I think nothing prepared me more to be First Lady in front of the world than the fashion industry. The fashion industry, it's glamorous, but it's at the same time very tough. And as everybody judges you, look at you a certain way. So it can be mean world as well. So nothing prepared me more for this world than fashion. It gives you a thick skin.
So it was August 27th, 1996, and you had this modeling contract. You have 2 suitcases, a carry-on, and a passport. That is all you brought with you to America.
And my portfolio.
And your portfolio.
That was very important.
Absolutely. Yes. You need to find a job. So 10 years, and you hit the ground running. You didn't even go to your apartment. You immediately went to work.
Correct.
Tell us about that.
Well, when I arrived to New York City, I still remember it was Tuesday afternoon, early afternoon. I went directly from the airport to the agency. So I start right away. You sign the contract, they copy your portfolio, and you start. So it was an exciting time.
So 10 years later, after arriving here, you find yourself raising your right hand and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance and becoming an American citizen. You had no idea at that moment you would go on to become the First Lady of the United States of America. What did that day, becoming a citizen, mean to you?
I was very proud. I went through the process, and that day was a big celebration. I was very, very proud.
So meeting Donald Trump, how did you meet him?
We met at a party, and you could read a whole chapter in the book.
Yes, you were at the Kit Kat Club, and
Yes.
there was that moment of connection. And then you refused to give him your number, and you asked for his number, and you went on a modeling shoot in the Caribbean. And while you're down there, you couldn't stop thinking about him. And so you came home and you called him. What happened?
We went to on the first date, if you could call it a date.
Because it was mixed with professionalism too.
Correct,
right?
and I completely understand now that I know him more.
Yes.
It was so him. And I liked in one way about it because I was the same, and I love the vision that he had and the connection that we had. So it was very special.
You get in the car and he drives you to Bedford, and outside of the city, an hour outside of the city, and he wanted to show you a business or some property that he had. Mm-hmm. So he was combining business with taking you on a first date.
And it was very nice because we were 2 of us alone in the car for hour and a half, and it's no other noise, no other people, because at that time he was already known and a celebrity. So it was really nice to be just 2 of us.
Yes. Did you fall in love then?
It was a connection. Mm-hmm. It was a connection.
Mm-hmm. You said our chemistry was undeniable. Our connection felt natural. In private, he revealed himself as a gentleman, displaying tenderness and thoughtfulness. Did he ever say to you in those early stages, or even in that first car ride, I'm going to be president one day?
No, we didn't discuss. That time not.
Did he tell you eventually?
Soon,
Did you know
but
politics?
Soon later,
okay.
Yes, soon later.
So
not that he would be the president, but he always was involved in politics. He was very in tune what's going on in the world, and especially in this country.
6 years into the relationship, it's April of 2004, and he proposes to you.
Well, first of all, it was my birthday as well. And it was a Met Gala. So it was all in one. We were all ready at home, both of us in black ties. So he proposed that time. Describe
your wedding day. It was January 22nd, 2005. It was almost a year after you were engaged, and you got married at Bethesda by the Sea, beautiful church down in Palm Beach, and then the reception at Mar-a-Lago. What was that day like for you and your family and your mom?
It was an exciting day. a busy, busy day. As every bride, you want to make sure everything goes smoothly. And it went. We had a good day.
I'm sure. There was a touching story in the book about the baptism candle. Your mom brought this over from Slovenia. It was the candle that was lit in the church when you were baptized. You lit it at your wedding, and then you lit it again when Barron was baptized. And you still have it, I assume.
I still have it. Interesting, I was baptized on Donald's birthday.
Really?
June 14.
Wow.
The dates connects.
Yes.
So my mother, she thought about it and she brought it here to the United States.
And you say in the book about becoming a mother, you said, I stepped back from public life, no longer wanted the glamorous photo shoots and the jet-setting lifestyle, and my career took a back seat. Was that a hard change for you?
It was not.
No, why?
Because I had a different purpose in life.
Best day of your life when they put the baby in your arms?
Something changes.
Yes.
Yeah, something changes.
There's a picture in the book, and you're working at the desk, and you have Barron in one of those small little motorized cars. Books, his children's books are all over the floor. You have your papers all over the desk. And I looked at that picture and I said, this is a working mom's life. We can all relate to this. Everything's chaotic, everything's hectic, but it's so much fun. And everyone tells us to enjoy those moments because they're fleeting. And your kids grow up and it just flies by. When you look at that picture, what was happening in that moment?
When I see it, that was the time that I did QVC collection, my jewelry
Which
and
sold out in
timepieces.
45 minutes.
It did, yes, was very successful. So I was doing all at the same time, working, playing with Barron. He has his own time with, his car and his books, and we talking. So I think it's very important that we show our children that we are working too, to give them an example how life is. That they see us, that we are productive, that we have ideas, that ideas comes to life. And that's how I was showing to Barron.
And did you and Donald Trump, did you ever talk about having more children? Did you want a larger family?
I was always perfectly fine with one. And Donald was encouraging to have more. And I said, I'm completely fine with one because it's very busy life, and I know how busy he is, and I'm in charge of everything. So that's why it's just perfect.
So Donald was on Brian Kilmeade's show last weekend, and Brian was asking him about your relationship, and he said, Brian, she really, really does love me. So what do you love most about your husband?
His being, his humor, his personality, his kindness. He's very special. His positivity. His energy, it's unbelievable. So we have a beautiful relationship.
We see these clips of Donald Trump giving a lady at the cash register $100 to pay for her groceries. The little boy with a rare disease, he invites him to the rally in New York, and the little boy cries when he receives a letter on his birthday from Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump he calls all the service members, their family members, when they lose their lives. These are stories that a lot of people, you're not going to see this on other networks. Is that the man he is?
That's the man he is, yes.
One word to describe him, what would that be? One or two words?
Caring especially for this country.
And what do the two of you like to do for fun if you're not working?
To have dinner, sometimes quiet dinner or dinner with friends, and listen to the music, all kind of different musics.
I hear he likes to be the DJ.
He likes to be the DJ, and it's a very fun night when he does that.
When you married Donald Trump, he already had 4 children, and you talk about that in the book, and it would seem so fun to have just so much life and children around you. You said, I gave everyone their own space, grounded in love and respect. You didn't always agree, but acknowledged differing viewpoints. So what advice do you have for blended families?
To take individual as they are. You cannot control anyone. You could control only your own behavior, your own words. Everybody is in control of own self. I'm not in control of my husband. I'm not in control of his children. I'm not even in control of my child. He's his own person, and we all have yes and no's, and we are all individuals. Once you lead your life with respect and love, that's all what it matters.
Barron now, he's so handsome, and we've enjoyed watching him grow up. I'm very proud of you for keeping his life private. I think that's important. Barron's now in college. What was that like for you? What advice can you give all of us who are a little nervous about that day, because we just love our children so much? What's it like being an empty nester?
I could not say I'm an empty nester. I don't feel that way. I raised Barron as our own person and gave him his own yes and no's. I respect that. It was his decision to come here, that he wants to be in New York and study in New York and live in his home, and I respect that. And he's an incredible young man. I'm very proud of what he grew up to. His strength, his intelligence, his knowledge, his kindness, it's admirable. And he's enjoying his college days. I hope he will have a great experience, because his life is very different than any other 18, 19-year-old child.
I was moved to tears in your book when I read about the loss of your mother, and you said this about her loss. There is an unparalleled sorrow in losing a mother, a profound heartache that shatters the spirit into fragments. For me, this heartache feels insurmountable, and the weight of grief is overwhelming. It does feel insurmountable sometimes, and let me be strong, but what advice do you have? Because I remember when my mom lost my grandmother, it was devastating, and it really separated her from God for a while. She came back to God. She just had a lot of questions, because she felt like he took someone that was so special to her away from all of us. But it made my faith stronger. But what advice do you have for people that are going through this, to lose a parent?
Well, it's a very a moment that nobody prepares you, and it's a grief that comes in waves, and you need to feel it. You need to have that inner peace, that to go with it, to feel it, to experience it. And first of all, I want to thank all of the people around the world who sent beautiful letters, beautiful prayers, very kind notes. Thank you to everybody who wrote me, who thought about me and my family, and was really deeply appreciated.
Yes, and I know she lives on in Barron. I remember at her funeral, Donald Trump talked about how your mom would cook for him, and that's probably why Barron is so tall.
She was a very special woman, full of warmth, kindness, and also strength. Her life was incredible in Slovenia. She established a life for myself and for my sister. Incredible life, also my father. But her strength was admirable. And once Barron was born, he was her focus. She moved here to the United States to be close to him and to to raise him in one way. It's almost like she was a second mother, especially because of my schedule in the White House and being so busy. And they had an incredible bond. Her and Barron, it was a relationship like no other.
Why did you want to tell your story in this book?
I believe that it was the time that I tell my story and the truth. It is a lot of misinformation and falsehoods written about me, and I want to put the record straight, and people can learn some things that they were never discussed, and I hope they enjoy the book.
How did you feel about Donald Trump running again?
I support him. I know how passionate he is to make America great again.
We saw you backstage at the RNC. Do you want to talk about why you decided not to come out on stage and give a speech like you did in 2016?
It was my decision. I think was just the time. I think was the right time. In days before, I wrote a beautiful letter to America.
Yes.
And I think in one way that letter was my speech.
The raid on Mar-a-Lago, the house manager texts you and says the FBI is outside the house. They had access to my bedroom, closets, office, and rummaged through my personal items. Even searched Barron's room, you say. So how invasive was that? Did it make you angry? How did you feel?
Yeah, it made me angry. Yes. Invasion of privacy. And the way it was done I was really surprised.
And you told your house manager, just leave it, don't touch anything, don't put it back. You wanted to see it for your own eyes. With your own eyes, what did it look like when you walked back in your house that had been raided?
I saw unpleasant stuff that nobody wants to see it. And you get angry because nobody should be putting up with that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Some person, I don't even know who or how many people, they went through my stuff.
So the assassination attempts, the first one is in Butler, Pennsylvania. And you write about watching the assassination attempt on TV. And you started working and you were distracted, so you pushed pause. I think your chief of staff maybe called you and said, he's okay, but there's been a shooting. What happened next?
I ran to the TV and I rewinded and I watched it. I was only a few minutes behind. And something, I guess, look over me. So I didn't really see live, but maybe, 3 minutes, few minutes later. But when I saw it, it was only, nobody really knew yet. Right. Because when you see him on the floor and you don't know what really happened.
So you called him and he didn't answer his phone and you called Secret Service. Mm-hmm. And what did they say?
First, the Secret Service was not available too because they were with him, right? And then after that, I got the Secret Service on the phone and they said that he's okay. We are on the way to the hospital. He will be okay.
And were you able to talk to him on the phone eventually?
Yes, I did.
And then your son rushes into the room.
Yes.
And he had been told, your son is in college, I understand, but he's still your child. This is his father. How difficult was that to have that conversation with him?
Very difficult. He was outside playing sport, and he rushed in, and was very, very difficult.
And then a few weeks later, there's another attempt on your husband's life at your golf course. Where were you, and what was your reaction to this attempt?
I was in New York City, actually, and I saw it on the television. And as soon as I saw it on television, I called again. And, he was okay, because Secret Service were great. The guys that they were with him, they were fantastic. And I think both of the events, they were really miracles. If you really think about it, the July 13 was a miracle, like that much, and he could not be with us.
And he normally doesn't call for that one screen. He waits till the end of the speech. So just looking at that screen allowed him to turn his head.
Yeah.
And he said it was providential. Does this make you believe in it more, in a higher power? How has that been for you?
I think something was watching over him. I think it's almost like country really needs him.
That maybe God's sparing his life?
Yes.
And then we were told this week, and we were told that authorities have already known this for a while, that there was an Iranian plot to kill your husband. So I watched this video that you released on social media questioning the first assassination attempt. For the second one, if they knew that there was this plot, why didn't they sweep the golf course?
It's interesting how quiet and everything became, all of the mainstream media. There were a few days reporting about July 13 event, and everything then became quiet. So I had a lot of questions. What's going on? This is not normal. And is it really shocking that all this egregious violence goes against my husband? Especially that we hear the leaders from the opposition party and mainstream media branding him as a threat to democracy, calling him vile names. They only fueling a toxic atmosphere and giving power all of these people that they want to do harm to him. This needs to stop. This needs to stop. The country needs to unite. And I encourage everybody to read my letter that I wrote on July 14 again, because that cannot continue.
Letter was very powerful. What made you get to the point of writing that letter?
That's how I felt. That's how I felt.
How do you feel when people say they don't like him? What do you wish they knew about him?
That he is really a family man. He loves his family. He loves this country. And all he wants to build better and prosperous.
Yeah, he's just strong. He's not afraid to
No, he's not
talk
strong.
about the way it really is.
You could see the way he was when he was shot, that in the ear, that the way he stood up and he said, fight, 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 because we cannot allow that to happen.
Okay, becoming First Lady. You wrote in the book when you found out you were watching Fox News right here in Trump Tower, and you write, I vividly recall Bret Baier's announcement, the president-elect is Donald J. Trump. And he looked at you and he said, can you believe it? And you said, yes, I can. Your life immediately changed. When did it hit you? I am the First Lady of the United States.
I don't know that it hits you, but you know that you have extra responsibility.
You talked about having special bonds with First Ladies, with the wives of prime ministers. Who really did you, when you were just there with them and you had to sit at the dinner table and talk, I'm sure some were just incredibly fun. You really bonded with a few of them. Anyone come to mind?
It's interesting because when you meet many times, you establish a relationship. So with Mrs. Macron, Brigitte Macron,
she's fun.
She's fun.
Yeah.
We always had great laughs. And with Aki, Mrs. Abe, and I'm so sorry what happened to him. So it was very special relationships with each of them.
You've also traveled to visit our soldiers. You did that at Christmas time. You left your family. It was in the dead of night, and you fly over to Iraq to bless the troops. What was that like for you, and what about the reaction from the troops?
It was a very secretive meeting, and when we arrived that night, the energy of the soldiers, we walked in and everybody started cheering that they see us. Like, what a big surprise.
They were not expecting that,
Not at all.
So what makes Donald Trump want to do this again?
All he wants to, as he says, make America great again. He wants to make this country prosperous, safe for everybody. He wants to make American dream possible again.
What was your reaction to Kamala Harris replacing Joe Biden as the Democratic nominee?
Well, how I see it is the records speaks for itself. The country is suffering. People are not able to buy usual necessities for the families. We have wars going on around the world. Soldiers are dying. They were dying under this administration because of weak leadership. The border is open and dangerous. A lot of fentanyl is coming over, killing our youth. It's very hard to see. And an economy, it's really not great. Inflation is high. And if we compare these 4 years under this administration compared to 4 years under my husband as commander-in-chief, he was leading the country through peace, through strength. And the border was safer than ever before. We didn't have any wars. People were prospering. They had jobs. They could support their families. So I think American people need to decide what they really want. Maybe some, strong tweets, but everything else great for this country. So it's all in the American people's hands on November 5th.